The sky burned orange and red. Smoke rose from the cities below. The planet was dying, and Alpha Korath knew it. He stood at the window of his command tower, watching another Dominion ship drop bombs on his people. The Varkin had fought for 3 years now. They had won some battles, but they were losing the war. Korath was tall, even for a Varkin. His fur was dark gray, and his eyes were the color of gold. He had led his people for 20 years. He had never known defeat like this. "Alpha," a voice said behind him. "The council waits." Korath did not turn around. Let them wait. He thought about his children. His 2 youngest cubs were sleeping in the bunker below. Rin was 7 years old. Sira was 5. They did not understand what was happening. They only knew that their father was sad and their mother was gone. His wife had died in the first attack. Korath still saw her face when he closed his eyes. The door opened and General Voss walked in. He was old and tired, like all of them now. "We cannot hold the capital," Voss said. "The Dominion will break through in 2 days. Maybe less." Korath finally turned. "And our fleet?" "7 ships remain. The Dominion has 90. There was no hope." Korath had known this for weeks, but hearing the numbers made it real. "The escape routes?" he asked. "All blocked. They have surrounded the system. Nothing gets out." Korath walked to his desk. On it sat a small device, a message crystal. He had recorded something on it 3 nights ago, when he could not sleep. "There is one route," Korath said quietly. "The old mine tunnel near the 3rd moon. It leads outside the blockade." Voss frowned. "That passage is too small for our ships. Only a pod could fit through." "Yes," the general understood. His eyes went wide. "Alpha, you cannot mean." "I do." Korath picked up the crystal. "The humans. They are the only ones who might help. The humans are primitive. They barely have space travel. They are also the only species the Dominion has never conquered. Every fleet they sent to human space came back broken. The humans are strange, Voss. They do not fight like us. They do not think like us. But they survive." Voss shook his head. "Even if we send a message, they will not care about us." "Why would they?" Korath looked at the crystal in his hand. "I am not sending a message." He walked to the door. "Come with me." They went down into the bunker. It was cold and dark. Varkin families huddled together, waiting for the end. Children cried. Parents tried to comfort them. In a small room at the back, Rin and Sira were sleeping on a metal bed. A guard stood at the door. Korath entered quietly. He looked at his cubs for a long moment. Rin had his mother's face. Sira had her spirit. He knelt beside them and touched their fur gently. "Wake up," he whispered. Rin opened his eyes first. "Father, is it morning?" "No, little one. But we must go somewhere." Sira woke next. She reached for her father's hand. "I had a bad dream." "I know. But I need you to be brave now. Can you do that?" Both cubs nodded. Korath led them through dark hallways to a hidden hangar. Inside sat a small escape pod. It was old and scratched, but it worked. "You are going on a journey," Korath told them. "A long journey to a place far away." Rin looked scared. "Are you coming with us?" "No. I must stay and protect our people. But where you are going, you will be safe." Sira started to cry. "I do not want to go without you." Korath held her close. His heart was breaking, but he did not let them see. "Listen to me," he said. "You are going to a planet called Earth. The people there are different from us. They do not have fur. They do not have claws. But they have good hearts. They will take care of you." He placed the message crystal in Rin's hand. "Give this to whoever finds you. They will understand." Rin gripped the crystal tightly. "Will we see you again?" Korath could not answer that question honestly. So he lied. Yes, when the war is over, I will come for you. I promise. He put them in the pod and closed the door. Through the small window, he could see their faces confused, scared. Trusting, Korath pressed the launch button. The pod shot into the darkness. Heading for the mining tunnel, heading for the stars, heading for a world none of them had ever seen. Korath watched until it disappeared behind him. Voss spoke. Do you think the humans will help them? I do not know, Korath admitted. But I know this. If anyone in this galaxy will raise another species' children as their own, it is the humans. They are strange that way. He turned and walked back toward the war. Far away, the pod traveled through space. Rin held his sister as she slept. He did not understand what was happening. He only knew that his father had trusted these humans with their lives. He hoped that trust was not a mistake. The pod flew on, carrying two small cubs toward a blue planet they had never seen. Toward a family they did not know was waiting for them. Toward a future that would change the galaxy forever. The pod crashed in the mountains on a cold winter night. Snow covered everything. The trees were bare and black against the white ground. Taiho heard the explosion from his house. He was 60 years old, a retired soldier who wanted only peace. His wife Yuna was making dinner when the window shook. What was that? She asked. Taiho grabbed his coat. Stay here. He walked into the forest with a flashlight. The snow was deep and the wind was cold. After 20 minutes, he found it a metal object, still smoking, half buried in the ground. Taiho approached carefully. He had seen many strange things in his life as a soldier, but nothing like this. The door of the pod opened with a hiss. Taiho raised his flashlight. Two children looked back at him, but they were not human children. They had fur gray and soft. They had pointed ears and small claws. Their eyes glowed yellow in the darkness. The smaller one was crying. The bigger one held her close, trying to protect her. Taiho did not run. He did not scream. He simply looked at them and saw what they were. Scared children, far from home. It is okay, he said softly. I will not hurt you. The boy held out something, a small crystal. Taiho took it carefully. He did not know what it was, but he knew what to do next. Come, he said. You must be cold. He carried both children back to his house. Yuna dropped her spoon when she saw them. But after the first shock passed, she did what she always did. She made them warm. She gave them food. She let them sleep in the guest room. The government came the next day. Men in suits asked many questions. They took the crystal and played the message inside. Taiho and Yuna watched as a wolf-like alien appeared on the screen. I am Korath, Alpha of the Varkan, the message said. I send you my children because I cannot save them. My world is dying. The Dominion will destroy us. But perhaps you can give my cubs a future I cannot. Raise them. Teach them. Protect them. If we survive, we will repay this debt. This I swear on my blood and my honor. The officials talked for hours. Some wanted to send the children away. Others wanted to study them. But Taiho stood firm. They stay with us, he said. They are children. They need a family, not a laboratory. The government agreed, but only with conditions. A program was created, Project Guardian. The children would live with Taiho and Yuna, but they would also be monitored, educated, and trained. 20 years passed. Rin grew tall and strong. He went to human schools. He learned human history, human strategy, human war. He became quiet and serious, always thinking, always planning. The military officers who trained him said he had a gift for tactics. He could see patterns others missed. Syrah grew clever and curious. She loved machines and technology. She took apart everything she could find, radios, computers, engines, and put them back together better than before. Engineers came from across the country to work with her, but they never forgot where they came from. More Varkan arrived over the years. Not many just survivors who escaped the Dominion, refugees with nowhere else to go. Earth took them all. Some went to America. Some went to Europe. Some stayed in Korea. By the time Rin was 27, there were over 400 Varkan living on Earth. They called themselves the Pack of Two Worlds. Rin became their leader, not because he asked for it, but because they needed one. One night, Sierra came to him with news. The deep space probe found something, she said. The Dominion blockade around our homeworld is weakening. They are pulling ships away to fight other wars. Rin looked at her. How weak? Weak enough. If we move fast. For the first time in years, Rin felt something like hope. He requested a meeting with Earth's United Defense Council. They gathered in a large room and sold generals, admirals, politicians. Rin stood before them, tall and calm. 20 years ago, my father sent me to you because he had no other choice, Rin said. You raised me. You trained me. You made me who I am. Now I ask for your help one more time. Give us ships. Give us soldiers. Let us go home and free our people. The room was silent. A general spoke. This is not our war. It is now, Rin replied. The Dominion has attacked human colonies. They will attack more. If we break them at our homeworld, we open a new front. We force them to divide their forces. This helps Earth as much as it helps us. An admiral named Jisoo stood. She was old, with gray hair and hard eyes. She had lost her son to a Dominion raid 5 years ago. I have a question, she said. If we give you this fleet, will you bring my son's killers to justice? Rin met her eyes. I will do more than that. I will make sure no mother on any world loses her child to them again. Jisoo nodded slowly. Then I vote yes. The vote was close. But in the end, the council agreed. Earth would send 12 ships. Thousands of human volunteers would join them. The mission was called Homecoming. That night, Rin visited Taiho and Yuna. They were old now, their hair white, their movements slow. But they still lived in the same house in the mountains where he had first arrived. I am going home, Rin told them. Yuna held his hands. You are already home. Taiho put a hand on his shoulder. Go, do what you must. But come back to us. Rin hugged them both. They had given him everything: love, family, purpose. He would not forget. Sierra joined him at the door. Ready? Yes, Rin said. Let us go get our people. They walked into the night, toward the future, toward war, toward home. The construction yards on the moon never slept. Day and night, workers built ships. Metal was shaped. Engines were tested. Weapons were installed. The air smelled like fire and oil. Rin walked through the yards every morning. He watched the ships take form: 12 warships, each one a mix of human and Varkan design. Human engineers had worked with Sierra to create something new. The hulls used Varkan metals, stronger than anything Earth had. The weapons were human missiles, cannons, things that hit hard and fast. The flagship was called the Second Dawn. It was the biggest ship in the fleet. Rin would command it. She's beautiful, Sierra said, standing beside him. Father would be proud. Rin said nothing. He thought about his father every day. Was Korath still alive? Had the Varkan survived these 20 years? He did not know. But he would find out soon. Volunteers arrived from across Earth. Thousands of humans wanted to join the mission. Some were soldiers. Some were engineers. Some were doctors. All of them believed in what they were doing. Rin interviewed each one personally. He wanted to know why they were willing to die for a war that was not theirs. A pilot named Minho sat across from him. He was young, with short black hair and steady hands. "Why do you want to join?" Rin asked. "Because it is right," Minho said simply. "You grew up on Earth. You are one of us. Your fight is our fight." Rin looked at his file. Minho had flown 60 combat missions. He had never lost a wingman. "You will lead the fighter squadrons," Rin said. "Welcome to homecoming." A combat medic named Hannah came next. She had grown up in Bizin, near a Varkan refugee camp. She had played with Varkan children as a girl. "I joined the military because of them," she told Ren. "They were my friends. When I heard about this mission, I knew I had to come." Ren assigned her to the medical course. A grizzled sergeant named Dowan was the last volunteer that day. He was 50 years old, with scars on his face and gray in his beard. He had fought in 3 wars already. "You are too old for this," Rin said. Dowan laughed. "I am too old to sit at home and do nothing. My whole life, I fought for Earth. Now I want to fight for something bigger. Those kids you brought back, the refugees, I met some of them. Good people. They deserve to see their home again." Rin smiled. "Welcome aboard, Sergeant." Training began on Jeju Island. Humans and Varkan trained together running, fighting, shooting. At first, they did not trust each other. The Varkan were faster and stronger. The humans were stubborn and unpredictable, but slowly they became a team. Rin watched them practice one afternoon. A human soldier and a Varkan warrior were sparring. The human lost, but he got up and tried again. And again. And again. The Varkan finally stopped. "Why do you keep fighting? You cannot win." The human wiped blood from his lip. "I do not need to win. I just need you to know I will not quit." The Varkan looked at him for a long moment. Then he offered his hand. "You have the heart of a wolf." That night, they ate together for the first time. Sarah worked 18 hours a day in the engineering bay. She checked every system, every wire, every bolt. The ships had to be perfect. There was no room for mistakes. One night, Rin found her asleep at her desk, surrounded by blueprints. "You need rest," he said. "I will rest when our people are free." Rin sat beside her. "Do you remember home? The real one?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. "I remember Mother. I remember her singing to us. I remember the sky. It was more purple than blue." "I remember Father's voice," Rin said. "Strong but gentle. He told me to be brave." "And you were," Sarah said. "You always were." The day before departure, Taiho and Yuna came to the moon. They were old and frail, but they made the journey anyway. Rin met them at the dock. They looked so small next to the giant ships. "It is bigger than I imagined," Yuna said, looking up at the second dawn. "It has to be," Rin replied. "We are bringing everyone home." Taiho took something from his pocket, a small wooden carving of a wolf. He had made it himself, years ago, when Rin was still learning to speak Korean. "I gave this to you when you were a boy," Taiho said. "You kept it by your bed. I thought you should have it now." Rin took the carving. His eyes were wet, but he did not cry. Varkan did not cry. But in that moment, he wished he could. "Thank you," he said, "for everything." Yuna hugged him. Then she hugged Sarah. "Come home," she whispered. Both homes. The fleet launched at dawn. 12 ships rose from the moon and turned toward the stars. Thousands of humans and hundreds of Varkan watched Earth grow smaller behind them. On the bridge of the second dawn, Rin stood at the command chair. Around him, officers worked at their stations, some human, some Varkan. "All ships report ready," an officer said. Rin looked at the stars ahead. Somewhere out there was his father. Somewhere out there was his true home. Set course for the Varkan system, he said. Maximum speed. The engines roared. The stars stretched into lines. And the fleet that should not exist flew toward a war that would change the galaxy. Minho's voice came through the radio. Homecoming fleet, this is Wolf Squadron. We are with you all the way. Rin allowed himself a small smile. All the way. The journey would take 3 weeks. 3 weeks to prepare. 3 weeks to plan. 3 weeks to become the army that would shake the Dominion to its core. They were not just Varkan anymore. They were not just human. They were something new, something the galaxy had never seen. And they were coming home. The Varkan system looked like a graveyard. Broken ships floated in the darkness. Debris filled the space around the planets. The red sun burned low and angry, casting everything in blood-colored light. Rin stood on the bridge and stared at the view screen. This was home. Or what was left of it. I count 30 Dominion capital ships, Syrah reported from her station. Plus support vessels. They are holding position around the third planet. 30 against 12. The odds were bad. But Rin had planned for this. Open a channel, he said. All frequencies. Maximum power. The communications officer nodded. Channel open. Rin took a deep breath. Then he spoke in Varkan, the language of his childhood, the language he had almost forgotten. This is Rin, son of Korath, son of the Alpha. I was sent away as a cub. I return as a warrior. The pack has come home. And we did not come alone. He switched to the common tongue so the Dominion could understand. To the Dominion forces, you have 1 hour to leave this system. If you stay, you will die. This is your only warning. The channel closed. Silence filled the bridge. Do you think they will listen? Minho asked. No, Rin said. But I wanted them to know who was coming for them. The Dominion responded 10 minutes later, not with words, but with weapons. Their fleet moved forward, cannons firing. All ships, engage, Rin ordered. Wolf Squadron, cover our flanks. Syrah, I need shields at maximum. The battle began. Space exploded with light and fire. Human ships darted between the larger Dominion vessels, hitting them fast and disappearing before they could respond. Varkan gunners fired with deadly accuracy. The Dominion was bigger, but they were slow. They had conquered 100 worlds with brute force. They did not know how to fight an enemy that refused to stand still. Minho led the fighter squadrons through the chaos. His voice was calm on the radio, even as explosions lit up around him. Wolf 3, break left. Wolf 7, cover me. Watch that cruiser, here comes another wave. Fighters danced around Dominion ships like insects around giants. They hit engines, disabled weapons, created openings for the bigger ships to exploit. But the Dominion fought back. A missile hit the second dawn. The ship shook. Alarm screamed. Hull breach on deck 7, Syrah reported. Sealing now. Keep fighting, Rin said. We cannot stop. On the planet below, something amazing was happening. The Varkan resistance survivors who had hidden for 20 years rose up when they heard Rin's message. Underground bases opened. Hidden fighters launched into the sky. Varkan warriors who had been waiting in silence finally had hope. An old voice came through the radio, rough and tired but still strong. Rin, my son, is it really you? Rin's heart stopped. He knew that voice. Father? Korath laughed, a sound Rin had not heard in 20 years. I thought I would die before seeing you again. But here you are, with an army. With humans, Rin said. They raised us. They trained us. They came with us. There was a pause. Then Korath spoke again, his voice thick with emotion. Then humanity has earned the eternal friendship of the Varkan. Now let us win this war together. The ground forces attacked Dominion bases across the planet. In space, the battle reached its peak. A Dominion dreadnought, the biggest ship in their fleet, turned toward the second dawn. Its main cannon charged, glowing white-hot. "That thing will destroy us in one shot," Sierra said. Rin looked at the screen. There was no time to dodge. "No time to run, Dot." Then Minho's voice came through the radio. "I see it. I am going in." Minho no, but it was too late. Minho's fighter broke from the squadron and flew straight at the dreadnought. He was not aiming for the cannon. He was aiming for the engines. "Tell my mother I was not afraid," Minho said. "Tell her I died with wolves." His fighter hit the dreadnought's engine core. The explosion was blinding. The great ship broke apart, its cannon going dark forever. Minho was gone. The bridge was silent. Rin closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them. "Finish this," he said. "For Minho, for all of them." The fleet pressed forward. The Dominion, shocked by the loss of their flagship, began to fall apart. Ship after ship was destroyed or surrendered. On the planet, Hannah led a team to rescue Varkan prisoners from a Dominion transport. The ship was damaged, losing air. The corridors were dark and cold. She found 40 Varkan locked in cells, starving, weak, barely alive. "I am here to take you home," she said. A young Varkan looked at her with wide eyes. "You are human." "Yes. Why would humans help us?" Hannah picked up a wounded child and put him on her back. "Because that is what we do." She carried 3 Varkan through decompressing halls, refusing to leave anyone behind. When the rescue ship finally picked them up, she collapsed from exhaustion. But she was smiling. By sunset, it was over. The Dominion fleet was destroyed. The blockade was broken. For the first time in 20 years, the Varkan were free. Rin landed his shuttle on the surface of his homeworld. The ground felt strange under his feet, familiar and foreign at the same time. Korath waited at the landing site. He was old now, his fur gray, his body scarred from years of war. But his eyes were the same golden color Rin remembered. The Alpha fell to his knees. "I sent away cubs," Korath said, his voice breaking. "Warriors returned." Rin knelt beside his father and helped him stand. "You sent us to the right people," Rin said. "You trusted humans with your children, and they did not let you down." Korath embraced his son. Sarah joined them, and for a moment, the 3 of them held each other under the red sun. They had paid a heavy price. 4 ships lost. Hundreds dead. Minho would never see Earth again. But they had won. The pack had come home, and they had brought an army of their own. 1 year passed. The galaxy had changed. News traveled fast across the stars, and everyone heard what happened at the Varkan homeworld. A small fleet of humans and refugees had defeated the mighty Dominion. An old enemy had been broken. Other species watched closely. They had lived under Dominion rule for centuries. They had believed the Dominion could never be beaten. But now they saw something different. They saw hope. On Earth, celebrations lasted for weeks. The soldiers who returned were treated as heroes. Statues were built. Songs were written. Children played games where they pretended to be Rin and Sierra. But the ones who fought knew the truth. War was not a game. They had lost friends. They carried scars that would never heal. Hannah returned to Bizin. She visited the refugee camp where she had grown up. The Varkan children there surrounded her, asking questions about the battle, about the homeworld, about everything. "Is it beautiful?" a little girl asked. "The Varkan planet?" Hannah thought about the red sky, the ruined cities, the graves they had dug. But she also thought about the sunrise on the day after the battle, how the light touched the mountains, how the people cried with joy. "Yes," she said, "it is beautiful." Sergeant Dohan retired for good this time. He went back to his village and opened a small restaurant. On the wall, he hung a picture of the homecoming fleet. When customers asked about it, He just smiled and changed the subject. But sometimes, late at night, he would look at that picture and remember the friends he had made, both human and Varkan. He would remember Minho's voice on the radio, calm and brave until the end. "For wolves," he would whisper. Then he would pour a drink and sit in silence. On Varkan Prime, Sira led the reconstruction. Human engineers worked beside Varkan builders. They repaired cities. They rebuilt factories. They planted crops. It was slow work. The Dominion had destroyed almost everything. But Sira refused to give up. "We will make this world live again," she told her teams. "We owe it to everyone who died to get us here." She worked harder than anyone. Some days, she did not sleep at all. But when she saw children playing in streets that had once been battlefields, she knew it was worth it. Rin became the ambassador to Earth. He traveled between worlds, building the alliance that would protect both species. In Seoul, he signed the Pact of Two Worlds. It was a simple agreement. Earth and Varkan Prime would defend each other. They would share knowledge. They would train together. They would never stand alone again. "This is the beginning," Rin said at the ceremony. "Humans and Varkan side by side. Not because we are the same, but because we choose to be family." The crowd cheered. Cameras flashed. Politicians made speeches. But the moment Rin remembered most came later. In private, Admiral Jisoo found him after the ceremony. She was crying, something Rin had never seen her do. "My son would have been proud to serve with you," she said. "Thank you for keeping your promise." Rin bowed his head. He's not forgotten. None of them are. On Luna, a memorial was built. A wall of stone stood at the edge of a crater, looking out at the stars. Names were carved into the stone, every human and Varkan who died in the battle. Minho's name was near the top. Beside it, in Varkan script, were the words, "He flew with wolves." Rin visited the memorial whenever he was on the moon. He would stand before the wall and read the names. Some he remembered, some he never knew. But all of them had given everything. "We will not waste what you gave us," he would say. "I promise." The Dominion never recovered from the defeat. Their empire cracked. Other species rebelled. Worlds that had been silent for generations found their voices. And everywhere, the story spread. There was a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. The people there were strange. They were soft and weak compared to other species. They did not have claws or armor or natural weapons, but they had something else. When two alien children fell from the sky, the humans did not study them or use them or throw them away. They raised them. They loved them. They taught them everything they knew. And when those children grew up and asked for help to free their people, the humans said yes. They built ships. They trained soldiers. They flew across the galaxy to fight a war that was not theirs. Why? Because to humans, it was their war. The Varkan children were their children now. And humans do not abandon their children. Alpha Karath traveled to Earth 1 year after the liberation. He was old and tired, but he wanted to see the planet that had saved his people. Rin took him to the mountains of Korea, drove down a small road to a simple house surrounded by trees. Tayo and Yuna were waiting at the door. Korath stepped out of the car and looked at them. These small, hairless creatures had raised his children. They had given them love when he could not. He walked to them and dropped to his knees. "I do not have words for what you did," Korath said. "You raised my children when I could not. You gave them a home when theirs was burning. The Varkan owe humanity a debt that can never be repaid." Taiho looked uncomfortable. He had never liked attention. Yuna simply smiled and offered her hand to help Korath up. "They were good children," she said. "Stubborn sometimes, but good. We just loved them." Korath stood. His golden eyes were wet. "That," he said, is everything. That night, they sat together in the small house, the Alpha, the foster parents, and the two children who had crossed the stars. They ate dinner. They shared stories. They laughed on outside. The stars shone cold and distant. Somewhere out there, empires rose and fell. Wars began and ended. Species conquered and were conquered. But in that house, none of that mattered. A family sat together, and that was enough. Across the galaxy, the story continued to spread. And those who heard it learned something new about the humans. They were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. They were not the oldest or the wisest. But they had a gift that no other species understood. They could take a stranger and make them family. They could take an enemy and make them friend. They could find a lost child in the darkness and carry them home. That was humanity's greatest weapon. Not ships. Not guns. Not technology. Love. And that, the galaxy learned, was the most dangerous thing of all.